What is socialism? The dictionary says it is a political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. The left says it is a kumbaya-style government where everyone comes together and sings, "We are the world. Everything is free for the taking. It is yours." A Star Trek-style utopia. The right says it is an authoritarian-style government. It is a traditional human rights violation-style government. And there are plenty of governments, both current and in the past, that prove socialism doesn't work. The left says those current and past socialist governments are not real socialism. There is no real socialist government to compare it to. So, a theory, right? A what-if scenario. Let's examine what would a perfect socialist utopia government look like. This would be what I like to call a Star Trek theory. In this TV series, they were designed as a humanitarian and scientific society with multiple alien civilizations that came together and shared everything. Here's one world where money doesn't exist. In this world, money or monetary were eliminated. You had a choice. You can either join the military and become a Starfleet officer, or you can remain a citizen and create a business or work for one to theoretically pay your way into society. Everyone had to do something to pay their way through society. Now you didn't need money anymore for one simple reason. Something called replicators. These ingenious devices were created to replicate all of your needs: food, clothing, drinks, supplies, anything you could freely imagine. Just walk up to a replicator and tell it what you wanted, and as long as it was in the database, you could create it. In this TV series, you could speak your mind freely without fear of censorship. Crime was eliminated in this utopian society, and you could travel anywhere on Earth. There were no borders. You didn't need papers to travel. All you had to do was use a teleporter. Just jump onto a pad and teleport yourself anywhere in the world for a weekend or an extended period of time. And if that wasn't enough, you could also live in an apartment for free. All you had to do was make sure you liked the size of the apartment and the view. All of this sounds wonderful. Who wouldn't agree to this? Okay, we aren't done yet. There is more. Oh yes, there is more. So you get sick. You need to go to the doctor. Well, just teleport yourself to any medical facility you want. Every medical facility is linked by one central computer system. Fantastic, isn't it? Now you have a sore throat, a sniffle, or you need a new organ. They can cure that. They can even grow organs for you to transplant. All of this under one central socialist society. You get top-notch health care. Most illnesses, various diseases, all eradicated. You could even revive the dead, depending on the cause of death, free of charge, because you are a contributing member of society. What's the catch? Continuing our look at this utopia, you never saw religion in the human aspect of the TV series. The only religion you saw was from the alien side of things. So it seems like human religions were eradicated. Muslim, Christian, Judaism, Mormon. You never saw these people being represented on the show. Now let's look at reality. In order to have this utopia, you will need to strip the religious beliefs from people. And how can you do that with some of these religions? You will be unable to do so. Then are you going to call them outliers and isolate them from the rest of the population? That's not very utopian to me. Now they also claimed they eradicated homelessness. Everyone would have an apartment. The only stipulation is you have to like the view and the neighborhood. That sounds fantastic. What's even better, and this would cost nothing, but the question I have is, what if you didn't want to be a productive member of society? Would you still have an apartment, or would you be an outlier? Okay, let's recap. Under this society, you have to be a productive member of society. You have to give up religion. In exchange, you get free housing, free health care. You can speak freely. Money has been eradicated. You can go to a replicator and get almost anything you want. Again, who wouldn't want this reality? Now, let's move away from this fantastic utopia and look at today. In order to gain this utopia, you need to give up religion. You're not going to do that. There are too many religious groups and organizations throughout the world. So currently, the only thing you can do is segregate your utopia society from the rest of the world. And that isn't a perfect socialist society. In this society, you have to give up money. Currently, everything has a price on it. Raw materials, manufacturing, storage, warehousing, transportation, finished products, even production time. By figuring out a price for everything, that is how we can determine what is a fair market value on something. That means we would need to throw this idea out. The question I have for these utopia supporters is, how do you eliminate this? Currently, you can't do this. So, how did Star Trek do this? Well, that's simple. They created the replicators. You can synthesize anything from thin air. That is how they were able to eliminate money from their society. How can you calculate something that is created from thin air? You physically can't. That is how they managed to eliminate money. Again, in this TV series, you had free healthcare. All you had to do was walk into a clinic and get treated, free of charge. How did they do this? Well, again, because they had replicators. They had specific replicators designed for healthcare needs. These replicators could synthesize any instrument, any treatment from thin air. So you want to travel anywhere on Earth for free? Easy. Just invent the teleporter. This wonderful contraption will allow you to transport anywhere instantly. And not only that, but you also need to invent a society that has no borders and no need for papers. Because how would they enforce borders if everyone has a teleporter? And not only that, but everyone has the same agreement to use their teleporters for the betterment of society. So you just show up, and you replicate whatever supplies you need. You don't even need to buy them. After your weekend trip, you just replace the supplies and teleport back home. There was very little crime in this TV series, almost no crime. Why is that? Well, if you can replicate anything and you can teleport almost anywhere, why would you need to commit crimes? There's no need for greed or anything like that. Everyone is working together for the greater good. But what about people with mental issues? Well, in this TV series, they just locked them up in treatment colonies. So it's not a perfect society. Let's talk about the prelude to this utopia. In the TV series, they said they had multiple wars before achieving this society. You had the Second Civil War. Then you had the eugenics wars. That's where they started playing with the genome in humans to create the perfect soldier and citizen, which failed miserably. Then you had World War III, which was the nuking of the planet. And finally, you had eco-terrorism. Seriously, what are you eco-terrorizing? The planet was destroyed for the most part. They also continued to say 30% of the human population was wiped out with all of these wars. I want to say not a chance. I would say with all of these wars, even over generations, it would be impossible for human civilization to recover from each one. Then you also nuked the planet. That alone would close to be destroying human civilization. I would say close to 60% of the population would be wiped out. Then after the nuclear fallout cleared out, the people that survived would most likely be sterilized, because you are eating and drinking contaminated items, food items. Let's just say in some miracle you were able to have children. The children would mutate and be sick. Most likely they wouldn't survive. Then your eco-terrorism, I'm sure what they were upset about. Everything was destroyed from World War III. After all these wars, it sounds like they had small hodgepodge of colonies dotting around the world. This would be easier to control then, if not all historical information was destroyed or sequestered to only a certain kind of person could review the information. Again, easier to control and manipulate. Plus, people are in desperate shape, hungry, sick, mutated. They were also looking for some kind of hope, some kind of dream. Then you had a group of people that were able to manipulate, twist things up for the desperate. Now, do I think socialism would work? Maybe. Socialism won't work unless we thin the herd. I know that's not a nice thing to say, but it's true. We have too many people in the world right now. If we had all of these wars thinning out the population, then you can control them better. That is why the Georgia Guidestones said the population needed to be around 500 million. It would be easier to control people in that size of population. Now, continuing on. If you also had replicators and teleporters, if all of these things were able to be implemented, maybe, but right now in reality, no. Oh, one more thing. The leaders need to be incorruptible and have a high moral reproach. And I don't see 99% of the population just having those two qualities. I don't think socialism will ever work unless all of this was able to happen. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and catch you on another one.